Hey guys, welcome to DevOpsSchool. In this video tutorial, we are going to learn about Nagios. Nagios is an open source continuous monitoring tool. It helps to monitor system, network and infrastructure. It is used for continuous monitoring of systems, applications, service and business process in a DevOps culture. After going through this tutorial, I promise you that the concept and understanding of the Nagios will be absolutely clear to you. But before we begin, let me inform you few things about us. DevOpsSchool is one of the leading platforms which offers DevOps, cloud and containers technology training and certification programs for freshers and established professionals who wish to update and consolidate their skills in the dynamic IT scenario. We ensure that the training solutions are delivered by highly experienced domain experts with practical working experience in various verticals. You can join our all training programs globally through online platforms, and if you're looking for classroom workshop, then we have regular batches available in Hyderabad and Bangalore. Check out the dates and enroll with us for our upcoming batches. For more info, link and contact details are mentioned in the description below.
So before talking to Nagios, first let us understand what is monitoring tool. So monitoring tool is basically used for the operation team, and okay, so this is used for the operation team, and operation team what they want, that whenever there is any problem occurs to the application or any problem occurs to the server where the application is running, then it is to be monitored, and it is to be monitored automatically. Means there should be a proper notification is to be set, and email address, other things are to be set accordingly. So just let me open the MS Paint. So when we are talking about the monitoring means monitoring the application, monitoring the services, monitoring the machine itself. So all these things we need to monitor. For that, we use Nagios as one of the monitoring tool. So say an example, my application is which is running on a web server, and we know that a complete life cycle of a Jenkins, that there is a CI/CD pipeline get created where developer is writing the code and the code goes into the Git or GitHub, right? And after that, it is to be built with the Maven. Then it is to be tested. So tested can be with the help of some Selenium, and this test result go back to the developer, which is the CI, continuous integration. After testing, it is to be once it is tested, then it is moved to production, which is our continuous deployment. Once it is in the it's on the server or it's in the production, then it is to be monitored. So here basically Nagios monitoring comes into the picture, and we apply our Nagios application here, which will keep monitoring not only the production server. If there is some servers which is attached to this production, that could be your web server, that could be your DB server, that could be your application servers. Okay, so if you want to do the monitoring on all these servers, then you can use the Nagios. Okay, and these servers could be the Linux server, Windows servers, any one of these servers. Not only the database server, if something you have printers, okay, and you want to monitor the printers, you want to monitor the switches. So these all things you can monitor by using Nagios. We can monitor the server where the Nagios is running. That also we can monitor, or we can monitor the uh, servers where your local host is connected to the other servers. So this is the overall picture that what we are going to do with the Nagios and where the Nagios exists in the DevOps lifecycle. Anyone has any doubt, any question related to what we are going to study today? All right.
So one question,
So
Raman. Uh, so what is the difference, difference between the one that we did that day, the monitoring tool for event management and logging all the. So that's part of the Sony, right?
which tool you are talking about?
What was that tool? I forget the name.
Splunk. She's talking about Splunk.
Splunk. Yeah, Splunk.
Okay. So this is different. This is basically only monitoring your applications. It is monitoring, not only monitoring. Actually, you can send the notification. You can monitor not only the system. You can monitor the switches, printers, database, all the
Okay.
things you can monitor by using
Hardware
Nagios.
as well as software. Okay.
Right, everything.
Okay. Thanks.
Yeah. So now let me go to my notes. Okay, so what is continuous monitoring? Continuous monitoring is a process to detect, report, respond all the attacks which occurs in its infrastructure. Once the application is deployed into the server, the role of continuous monitoring comes into the play. The entire process is all about taking care of company's infrastructure and respond appropriately. So this is called the continuous monitoring. So what is Nagios? Nagios is a free to use open source tool for continuous monitoring. It helps you to monitor system network infrastructure. It is used for continuous monitoring of systems, application services, and business processes in the DevOps culture. Nagios runs plugins stored on the same server. It plug it plugins connects with a host or another server on your network or the internet. Therefore, in the case of failure of Nagios core, can alert the technical staff about the issues so that so that your technical team performs recovery process before outage in the business process. So this is what I was uh, explaining you, that whenever there is a issue happens, so it is to be alerted, and the team which get that alert, so that notification we configure it into the Nagios, and also with the help of this we can monitor system application services and other business processes. Why we need Nagios? It detects all types of networks or server issues. Okay, so this is the benefit of the Nagios. If there is because we can monitor the switches, so it means anything which is related to network, we can monitor that. Related to server, definitely it will support that. Helps you to find the root cause of problem, which allows you to get the permanent solution to the problem. Okay, so because you are monitoring, you get alerted, your technical staff team, they look into the issue, and when they look into the issue, they will they can find the some log entries, and with the help of that log entries we can find out what is basically wrong going on, and which will be helpful to solve a problem or provide some initial step to find the root cause of your problem. It is the active monitoring of entire infrastructure and business process. So again, it's the same thing. You are monitoring your service and you are monitoring the entire infrastructure and business process. It allows you to monitor and troubleshoot server performance issue. Okay. So if your server is slow, so you can activate some of the services by which you can communicate, and you can configure uh, you can configure the that the response time. If the response time is timeout, then it is to be monitored or it is to be alerted. So these things you can do with the performance of a server, and you can find out the issues if it is related to the performance. It helps you to plan for infrastructure upgrade before outdated systems create the failures. Okay, so say an example, if it is a performance issue or system is very frequently going down, then it's a alarm for the team or the infrastructure team. They can basically check out that whether we need to upgrade our system or not. You can maintain the security and availability of the services, automatically fix the problem in a panic situation. So there are few problems which you can basically monitor with the help of Nagios, and um, not all the problems I would say, but yes, some of the problems you can monitor. And if you want that uh, particular services to run, if it is failed, these kind of problems you can manage with the Nagios also. So automatically it will fix the problems in a panic situation. Now let us talk about the Nagios architecture. So Nagios always work on the client server architecture, and usually it is on a network. So we have one server which is running as a host, and there are some plugins. So if you see this diagram, in this diagram basically this is my Nagios server, and in this server, so this is my Nagios server, and it has plugins. So plugins are playing very important role, because with the help of plugins we are communicating with the remote machines. We are monitoring the services with the help of, so there are two components of the Nagios. One is the Nagios core, and second is Nagios plugins. So Nagios is basically made up of these two components, and these are basically uh, installed on your Nagios server. Then we have the remote machines. So remote machine means the machines which you want to monitor. So that could be your web server, database server, or can be different uh, machines. So these these machines you can configure with your server, and if there is any issues occurred into that, that will be communicated back to the Nagios server. And overall, all these things you can see with the Nagios GUI. So we will have a web portal, and that web portal is your Nagios web portal. Okay, which is basically running on the Apache. Okay, so let us see what we are talking about here. So a scheduler is a component of the server, part of the Nagios process scheduler. It sends the signal to execute the plugins at the remote host. The plugin gets the status from the remote host. The plugin sends the data to the processor scheduler. So they will, because everything is means if we are talking between master and the client machine, then it is through the process scheduler. So process scheduler is basically handling on behalf of the Nagios server, everything. So the plugin sends the data to the process scheduler. The process scheduler updates the GUI. So this is the GUI interface where that that particular notification sent, or not the notification sent, basically this is the GUI where you can see what is happening. So most of the time in the operation team, they either look at the alerts or they look at some eye on the glass, means if they want to monitor or they want to investigate something on the uh, on the on the server, what the issues are occurring, so that they can check on the graphical user interface, which is nothing but a website. When we talk about the plugins, so there are two types of plugins. So these plugins are basically installed on the client machine. So say an example, if you have a server, say
Raman,
an
I'll just stop
example,
here for a second. Raman,
yeah,
when you say the client, this means the service you're monitoring or the client, Nagios' client itself.
actually your voice was breaking. Can you say again?
Yeah, sorry. Can you hear me now?
Yeah, I can hear you now.
Yeah, so the question was when you say the client server architecture, can you elaborate here on what is client and what is server? When you say server, is it Nagios server and client is the service you're monitoring?
Okay, sorry, actually, again, your
Yeah, you're
voice
right.
was breaking.
Yeah, we cannot understand what you're saying at all. Completely blurred, Mia.
All right, sorry,
Yeah,
you just
so
carry on and I think my questions will be answered.
you can put it on the chat window. Now I can hear you properly. Can you, if you say now? Okay, so okay. So now next is the plugins. So what is plugin? Plugins are basically installed on the machines which is to be monitored. So say an example, I have one server and that server is my Nagios server on which Nagios is installed, right? And my website is running. Now it has to monitor a server which could be Windows machine and which could be a Linux box. Okay, so if it is a Windows machine, then I need to install a client which is NS client. Okay, so NS client is basically for Windows and NRPE client for Linux. So I need to install these plugins on my client machine. So when I install this NS client or NRPE, then Nagios server can communicate and consider it is in the same cluster. So Nagios related communication happens between Nagios server and with NS client and NRP. Okay, so Nagios plugins provide low-level intelligence on how to monitor anything and everything with the Nagios core. Plugins operate as the standalone application, but they are designed to be executed on by the Nagios core. It connects to Apache that is controlled by the CGI. So CGI is another programming language which is used to develop this Nagios GUI to display the result. Moreover, a database connected to Nagios to keep the log file. So this is your monitoring server, and in this monitoring server is connecting to the Windows machine by using NS client, and the communication is always secured using a certificate which is under SSL. So check NT is basically This is also a plugin which will basically use to monitor your Windows machine. So now, so your GUI, if we talk about the GUI will be look like this. Okay. Now you need to be little patient because there are a lot of steps related to Nagios to install, and we are going to follow those steps. So what I'm going to do, I will create a Ubuntu machine. Okay, so I'm creating a Ubuntu machine. So Nagios is not a very big topic. It's a most probably we will cover it. We will not take any break. We'll cover it another 1.5 hours or 2 hours maximum. Okay, and here I'm going to select the free tier eligible. I'm creating only server at this moment. I will add the clients. Okay, so here this, and I will call it name Nagios server. Review and launch. What I will do, I will open all traffic so that there should not be a firewall issue. So meanwhile, I will open my SSH client. Okay, so it is in the running state. So I will take this IP address and I will give this username is Ubuntu and whatever the key I'm using. Okay, so the first thing what I will do, I will say sudo su. I will connect with the root account so that I need not to write sudo again and again. So now I'm saying apt update. So let me update the repository. Okay, so this is updated. Now you need to follow my steps. So here are the installation steps. So I think all of you are having my this repo means Git repository, right? If you don't have, then let me give it to you right away. Here all the notes which we have the lectures earlier. So all the notes are here. Okay, so okay, so okay, so Deepa is asking why all traffic is allowed to security group. So why I'm putting all traffic, because see, whenever we are talking about the production environment, so the firewalls are open for my communication. So here port 80 is required to be open, port 22 is to be open. So I'm not bothering about that what firewall port I need to open. So I'm just saying that open everything. Okay, so that's why I have selected all traffic. Is it clear to you, Deepa?
Yeah, yeah.
Okay. And Mian is asking, can you explain client server architecture? Okay. So let me quickly go there. Mm, Mian, are you still asking that question? Because I explained again, because that is almost okay. Fine. Thank you. Okay. So now, so uh, this is the GitHub which I'm sharing with you. So here you will find all the nodes, and on this you will find Nagios. Okay, under Nagios, this is the PDF which I was showing to you, and these are the steps. So there are a lot of steps which we need to follow to install Nagios core and Nagios plugin. So we will do one by one. First, we need to install the prerequisites. So what are the prerequisites? You should have wget, you have build essentials, you have Apache 2, PHP, and PHP version 7.2, and some other components related to the PHP, unzip, and postfix. So these all are required to install before installing the Nagios, because your Nagios is a website or web portal which is going to run on Apache server, and internally it is supporting CGI and the um, CGI and PHP application. So first thing that I'm going to install the prerequisites for that. So I will copy it, and before that let me just change the host name. So I will say host name, I will call it Nagios server. Okay, and if I say bash, so Nagios server, now I'm running. So I'm saying yes for all the requisites to be installed. Okay, so here you need to select the configuration from where you are uh, take the mail configuration. So I'm just saying internet site. Okay, the server name, mail server name, I'm saying Nagios server. So this is the basically the kind of your Exchange server where which is to be configured for mailing point of view. So I'm saying my emails will use this Exchange server. So because there are a lot of things is getting installed, that's why it is taking a little bit time. Okay, so this step is done. Now what I want to do, I want that there will be a special group, user group, and user name is to be created for my Nagios server handling. So for that, what I will do, I will create a user. So I'm creating this user. User name is Nagios, and I'm creating a group as well. Okay, so this group is added, and I'm adding this group into this user into that group. And also into the www data group as well, because I'm going to use the for the web portal point of view. Now next is that I need to download the Nagios that software, right? Core. So first I'm installing Nagios core. So this is the URL, and I'm downloading this. So this is the tar file, which is around 11 MB here. So this get downloaded. So this is in the zip format or compressed format. So what I will do, I will uncompress it. So I will extract this. Now if you say ls, so there is a folder which is the Nagios 4.0, and this is the tar file. So I will go inside this folder, and so what we need to do now, we need to run the configure command. So there is a configure command which is under your this directory, which basically I want to run it uh, with the user Nagios, which is under and with the group uh, ngcmd which we have created. So to run this, I will run this command. So I'm just running this command. So it will basically configure my packages. Okay, so everything get configured. So if you see here, the Nagios executable is this, user is this, web interface will be this. So everything is configured by running that command. Now what I will do, I will make the packages. So how to make the packages? With the make command or make all. So these are the Linux commands basically. So once I make it, then I need to install it. Okay, so this is done. Then I will do the installation, the make install command. Okay, if you want to do the command mode installation, that is optional. Now I need to initialize my install, whatever I have installed it, and then initialize my configuration file as well. Then I will give so there will be a nagios.configuration file. So I want to give the proper permission to this. I want to give the write permission to the owner and read permission to the others and the groups. Now next is the event handlers. So there is a event handler directory in the Nagios, which is basically used for the event handling on your website. So, or event handlers related to your communication between the services of server and the, the machine which you want to monitor. So I need to copy this recursively event handler to this particular directory. So this Nagios directory. So if I go and copy it, get copied, and I will change the permissions. I will give it the permission to my Nagios user. So my Nagios core is installed so far. Now let me go to my plugin and install it. So for that, we need to download the plugins first. Okay, so this is downloaded. Now I need to extract it. This is the tar file. So I have extracted it. Now if you see, this is the Nagios plugin. So let me go inside this. So I will say cd and go to this. Okay, again it will have the configure file. Yes, so I need to run the configure, make install. Okay, then I will run make command. So now my plugin is also done. I have installed Nagios core as well as Nagios plugin. Now what I will do next, I will go to my one file, Nagios configuration file. So this is the path for that. And I will make some changes into that. So what are the changes? So if I go to, it has line number 51, this one. Okay, so here I need to uncomment it. So basically what I'm saying here, I need to monitor my local server, right? So that's why we will talk about what is this printers, switches, routers, and all these things. But I want to monitor servers at this moment. So that's why I'm uncommenting that line into the nagios.cfg file, configuration file. So this is nano, so I need to say Control X, save yes. Okay. Then create a directory. So I will create a directory for Nagios servers because I have uncommented it. So I will copy this and I will create -p means it will create the parent directories. Means if it does not exist, it will create that directory. Okay. Now next is change the ownership, give it to the Nagios. So this server directory is changed. Apache is already installed in our prerequisites. So there are some modules which is in the Apache, which is called the CGI module and rewrite modules. So we just need to make it enabled. So I'm saying sudo. Okay. So this get enabled. Same way I need to enable CGI module. So CGI module is enabled. So we just, because we have made the changes into the Apache, so that's why we are going to run this command, restart the Apache. Now for my website, which I'm going to create. So for that, I want to set up username and password. So this command will help me to create username. Username will be the Nagios admin, and the password, whatever we will give. So this is the user Nagios admin, and password, whatever you are giving. So it will not show on the screen, but it will take internally. Okay, so this is added. So next is that I need to enable the virtual host. So virtual host is basically which is used for hosting my website. So I'm just enabling the Nagios virtual host. Okay. So now my website is hosted. Let me restart my Apache once. Okay, now what we'll do, we'll go to our, we'll go here and we'll take this IP address, public IP address, and I will go and I will go here and say /Nagios. Okay, so here my website is now hosted, so I can see Nagios admin was the username and whatever the password you had given, that password. Okay, so now you can see my website is up and running. It's not running, actually it is saying not running because there are few things still left, but you can see my website is hosted. Even though if I click on something, it is giving some error that I need to do some configuration changes, but my website is now hosted. So this website is the which is kind of a monitoring tool for operation team. So if I go back to my notes again, when the Nagios starts, you may see the polling error starting Nagios. Okay, so we need to fix it. So how to fix it? Follow the commands. You need to go to the initialized directory. Okay, so this is the initialized directory of my system. And if you find Nagios file is there in this folder, okay, so this step is not required because we already have the file, Nagios file. So I will go into the Nagios file. So this is the case. If file is not found, then you need to copy it from the skeleton folder. So, but my file is there. So what I'm going to do, I'm going to the Nagios file itself. There I need to copy paste this code. This code is basically defining the name of the service, what is the daemon, what is the background process going on, what are the arguments. So these things we need to provide to the Nagios file. So I'm going there. Okay, and in the end, I will write that code. Okay, so I have written this code, save it. Okay, now make this file executable. So I will run this command to make this file executable. Okay, I need to restart the Apache. Okay, so now in the Nagios service, we need to put some configuration, like we need to put under unit section, what is the description, bind to network plot target. So these are basically some configuration settings we need to do for the Nagios service. And for that, we need to modify this file. And this is a blank file. And I will copy these contents. Okay, so almost we are done. So we just need to restart our Nagios service. So I'm enabling it as well as I'm starting it. Okay. So if you want to see the status, it's up and running. If you want to monitor the memory, then you need to install one htop. Okay, so we are done with the installation now. So now let us go to our server. And now you can see there is no error, right? Everything looks fine. So my Nagios service is up and running. And if you see the host here, so there is one local host which is up. Local host is nothing but where the Nagios service is running. It is up. So when I click on this local host, so it will show the statistics of this server and other informations which is related to the server. So you can see it is up. Ping command is okay. Performance data, current attempt, last check time. So all this information you can get it for that particular server. Now if I go and check the services, so you can see these are the services which is monitored on this server, like current load, current users, ping command, root partition, SSH. So these services are having different status. If it is okay, so it means whatever this service is trying to do, that returns successful result. So say an example, if I say ping, so ping means whether the ping command runs successfully or not. If it is successful, then it will be green color. If it is critical, then it will be in the red color, or it is pink, dark pink color. So critical means this is to be there is some issue in that particular service, and we need to take the action accordingly. Same way we have here pending. So pending means still it did not get the its whatever this command is trying to do. So this command either is not running. Not running means first time it did not run, or whatever the parameters it needs to run the command, so that parameters are not fulfilled now. Okay, now you can see ping is okay because till now it was pending. It did not run so far even first time, but now it ran and it is saying okay. So okay means now it is fine. Now let us see where these services are defined, where we can see local host, where we can configure it. Tomorrow if I want to add one more slave machines, how can I add it? So for that, mhm, for that we need to go to our command prompt. Okay, and if I say cd dot okay, if I say cd slash usr slash 1 second, we have created that directory. This not this one. Yeah, so this directory. So under this directory, you will see one folder which is called objects folder. And this is the Nagios file, which is basically this is the configuration file of the Nagios. So if you want to make any changes in the configuration, you can make the changes into this file. So now here, if I go to the objects folder, and if I say ls, so you will see there are a lot of configurations file. These files are basically the configuration files which you want to perform the action. So say an example, if you want to configure the printer, then you have printer related configuration file. If you want to monitor switches, you have switches.cfg file. If you want to monitor, say, your contact information, then you will have the context.cfg. So these are the inbuilt files which comes along with the Nagios installation. But you can have your own configuration files if you want, and we will create that also, because if I want to monitor a particular if I want to monitor a particular service, or I want to create a new host, then I need to have the new configuration file, or I need to modify existing. So I don't want to touch any existing file because uh, these are predefined. So if we unnecessarily change these files, that may cause some issue. So it's always a good practice that you can create a separate file, separate configuration file, which you want to do it for which you want to configure it for your host or the remote host systems. Okay, so now let us first investigate or observe our localhost.cfg file. So if I go to localhost.cfg file, so this file is the sample object configuration file for monitoring the machine. So localhost is basically whenever you are monitoring the local host system on which the Nagios is running. So here you can see there is a uh, there is a defined host. Okay, so this host is saying use Linux server. So what it means? So it means there is a Linux server defined, and that Linux server is what? Linux server is a template basically. So where is this template? So if I come out of this, and you can see there is a template.cfg file. So let me go inside this. So here you can see host template. So one of the template which is the generic template, and what it is saying, notification enabled one. So notification enabled one means the host notifications are enabled. Event handler enabled one. So it means host event handlers are enabled. So these are means some properties. Some of them is like notification period 24/7 means whenever there is any problem happen, so the notification should be sent immediately. Now this is the Linux server which I am using for my host, and you see under this it is saying use generic host. So use generic host means it will use the this template. Okay, but I want to add some more. I want to add some more properties to it. I will use these properties plus I want to add some more properties like I want that the check period is 24/7 interval every 5 minutes it needs to monitor. Retry interval is 1. Maximum check attempts is 10. Okay, after that it will stop, right? Means if it is failed, notification period, and so on. So I am using this into my local host, which is coming from the template.cfg file. Anyone has any doubt, any question so far? Okay, so these configuration templates are basically used for the uh, it is basically kind of a template which use in another configuration files. So if I come out of this, okay, and I will go back to my local host again. Okay, so this is the use Linux server. Now the host name. So host name, you can give any name. So this is the local host. And this local host, because I have configured here, that is why it is showing here as, not here, it is showing here as local host. So this is, if I change name here, it will change name there as well. Okay, so what is the alias name? Alias name you can put anything. Okay, and here the IP address. So the IP address is the local machine IP address, which is the 127.0.0.1. Okay, so this is my host. Down here you can see the information about the services which is configured. So these are the services which get configured, like my current load, current users, HTTP, ping, and the root partition, SSH, etc. So where these services has been configured, these are configured here. So how to define a service? Define service, then use local service. So where this local service is defined, this is defined in the this is defined in my this is defined in my template itself. So this is the local service. So let us come out of this and let me go back to my template.cfg again. In template.cfg, so these are the host, then we will see the services as well. So this is the service. This is the generic service which have uh, these options, right? So here you can see notification when to send, when it is warning, when it is unknown, critical, and recovery. So in all the cases, I need the notification. Okay. And here you can see this is the local service which we are using. And this local service is internally using the generic service. Okay. So wherever you see the use statement, it means it is using the templates.cfg file. So let me go back to my local host again. So this is my service. My service is root partition, and it is running for the host name localhost. So if I go and see here, there is one root partition, right? So this is pointing to the same thing. So basically what it is doing, it is checking a command, check command, and this is the check underscore local disk 20% and 10%. So this check command, where it is running or where it is defined. So this is running here, but it is defined somewhere else. So where it is defined? So it is check underscore local disk, right? So if I come out of this, so there is a file which is called the commands.cfg file. So let me go inside that. So if I say vi commands.cfg file, and if I say check underscore local underscore disk, this command was there, disks. I believe this command, or if it could be different, no issues. So here you can see we are defining a command, and these commands are basically inbuilt commands. So command name is check underscore local disk. So this is basically checking the local disk, and these are the parameters which are defined, and the definition of parameters you can search online, right? So or um, some of the note you can see here. These are the some example of the service checks. They may or may not work on your system as they must be modified for your plugins. So we need to go to the documentation and see what is the purpose of these commands. So there are hundreds of commands defined in this commands.cfg. Okay, so this is basically checking we need to identify with the name, means like it is check local disk, it means it is checking the local disk. And what are the arguments, argument 1, 2, and 3, that we can check it out. User is basically users who is logged in, means in my case it is the root user. And the other parameters you can search it, means in the help of the Nagios, what this command is doing. Okay, now, so this command is defined here, and I'm calling this command into my service. So every service which is running in localhost.cfg file, internally it is using the command. And this ping service, if you want to check whether there is a proper communication happen between local host to local host here in this case. Then I will say run the check command, check underscore ping, and I will pass the parameters accordingly, which will give me the result whether ping is successful or not. Now, if I make any changes here, so as an example, here I will change the definition of ping to ping 1. Okay, and if I say systemctl restart Nagios. Now if I go back here and if I refresh it, so now you can see it is changed to ping 1. Means this is the file which I have changed here. So this is the file which is making the difference, or making this whatever the status you are seeing here. This is because of these commands. So tomorrow if you want to add something, you can copy paste a new service here. So if you want to create a new service, so copy this, paste it here, change the command name, means name is user defined, right? And the check command, you need to check whatever the command you want to execute it. Okay, so let me come out of this. Now there are some more files. If I see ls here, so there are some files which is related to printer switch, right? Windows.cfg. How my system comes to know that I need to. So if you see, there is no printer information here. Okay, so there is no printer information. So if you want to add printer, or if you want to add something, some configuration file, where we need to add, for that you need to go one step above and ls, and here you can see there is a file nagios.cfg file. So let me open that. Okay, and here you can see there are some configuration files which is added here. Okay, commands, contexts, template, localhost, and see which file is commented. So that is why I am not able to see any configuration related to switch. So I can see only the configuration which is related to uh, my local host machine, because localhost.cfg is not commented. Template is not commented. So if you want to use any file, you need to add it something here. Okay. Now let me do one thing. Let me add the windows.cfg file. Okay. And let me come out, save this and come out of this. Now if I see cd objects, and if I say vi windows.cfg, so this is the Windows. So what it is doing, it is using the Windows Server template. Name is WinServer, and IP address is something this. And you can, I think this is my system IP address. So not this IP address. So you can, I think it has taken its own some number. So this is the IP address of the Windows. So say an example, if you want to monitor any Windows machine, then you can give the IP address of that machine. That's it. Okay, so that's it in this file. And if you want to configure any services, you can put the service name, same way as we have done in the local host. So these are the services which are defined. Now let me save this. Now let me restart the. So what I have done, I have uncommented windows.cfg entry in the nagios.cfg file. Okay, now I'm restarting the Nagios. So if I say system ctl restart, if I go to, so here you can see now there is a new host added, which is Win server or Windows server, which is in the pending status, right? Because so far the services which I have configured, it is uh, not completed so far. That is why it is giving that pendings. But if I click on this, so far it also did not get any information apart from the IP address which is configured. Now if I say services, so these are the services which is defined in Windows Server.cfg file, and these services are here. And if you want to see anything which is related to any service like CPU load, so far there is no data, but once you get the data, all the information will be printed here. So here you can see it is critical stage now because the last update when it was received, so there is a socket timeout. So why it is giving that error? Because as I explained you earlier, that whenever you are creating a Windows client, you need to install NS client on it. Okay, then we need to perform a proper settings between that Linux server and the Windows server so that they can communicate to each other. So that they should be in the cluster. If they are not in that cluster, then you these machines cannot communicate to each other. If they cannot communicate, means we cannot monitor it. Anyone has any doubt, any questions so far? Okay. Now, next is, so now this is uncommented in nagios.cfg file, and there is no use because we don't have the plugin installed, so it will not work. So better we will remove that entry. So what I will do, I will go to that Nagios start. So this line I will make it comment again, so that okay, and because I'm making the changes, so I need to restart the Nagios. And I need to see the host now that when server host is removed. There is also a file which is contacts information where we can see. So if I say ls, so there is a context.cfg file. So let me open that. So vi contacts.cfg. Okay, so here you can see define the context. So what context you are defining? I'm defining my contact. And if you remember that when we have started our when we have started our installation, it asks about the SMTP server name and the email. So that is the configuration. So your email exchange email address and everything is to be properly configured. And that contact name, and again I am saying use generic, which is generic contact. So generic contact, it means it is the it is your template. So if I go to my template, for the contact, should be on the top somewhere. Here you can see the contact is generics, and you can see the options which is configured. So notification field is 24/7, notification by email, notification host by email. Okay, and for these conditions like warning, events, right, recovery, unknown. So these are some characters which we use for the notification options. And same case I'm saying for the host notification options. So this is the template which is defined. Now I will use this template into my, so I will use template. I will use my template here. So I will say vi context. So here I'm using that template. Okay, so this is the username and this is the email address. So you need to give your email address, but before that you need to configure the proper SMTP server information on your system. Okay, so these things basically we define when you want to set up the notification. Okay, so same way if you want to see the printer.cfg file. Okay, so this is related to printer, what printer you are configuring, what is the IP address. Again, there will be a use printer template which will have its own properties, right? And host name, alias name, address of your printer, host group, etc. So these are the host group information. Host group is nothing but the computer or the printer which you are using for your host, in which group it lies. So here if you see host group is network printer. So if I want to create another host, probably not here, but if I create another host and I want to put it under the same. So it's basically I can create a group for that. So same way in the printer services, what you want to do, whether you want to check the status, so you need to create the services for that. So whenever you are creating a services, you need to monitor that, and to monitor it, you use the check command, and that command, whatever the command is defined in commands.cfg file, that you can use it here, especially which is for the printers. Okay, so this way is basically we are using the printers. In the same fashion, you will find another, which is the network related thing, and that is switches. So if I go to the switches, switch.cfg file. So this is related to switch. So here you can perform the uh, configurations, testing or monitoring for the switches. So switches are basically devices which is used for the network communication between client and server or between the work groups. So this thing we can configure it here, and the process is same. Means now you have seen a lot of configurations files. All these configuration files are going in the similar way. So here you can see there is a host use generic switch, which is again defined in the template.cfg file. Host name, I'm giving the host name this, alias name is this, address is this, host group switches. Whatever the services you want to enable it, so these services I will define here. All right. And the commands which are related to those services, you can check it into the check underscore command, and this command is defined in the commands.cfg file. Okay. Now let me do one thing. Let me create one client for this. Let's monitor that client. So for that, what I will do, I will create one more server. So here I will go and create one more Ubuntu machine. I'm opening the all traffic. So let it start. Okay, so it is in the running state. So I will select it, and this is the IP address. So I will create a new session. Okay, so here I'll say apt update. Okay, so now what I need to do, because this is the Linux machine, so as I explained you that if I have a server, if I have a server which is this is my server. So if I have the server, and on the server we have Nagios core and Nagios plugins installed, and on this server my website is running, right? And so far it is monitoring localhost, right? So, but this Nagios server is not to monitor itself. It has to monitor some remote machine. And if the remote machine is Linux, then we need to install an RPE client. And if it is Windows machine, then we need to install NS client. So now this server which I have created now, this is my Linux server. So I need to install a plugin which is NRP. So when we install NRP plugin, and if I provide the IP address of my master machine into the NRP client plugins, then it can communicate with master. And I have to do some changes into my configuration file, or I need to create a new configuration file so that it can monitor my remote system. So for that, here in the NRP configuration file, I need to provide the IP address of this server, Nagios server. Okay, so which is the nrp.configuration file. After that, it will understand that I need to talk to this. Now, this particular server also identify that whether I can communicate to it, and this all communication happens on the SSL. So let us see how it is happening. So I will go to the, let's say ls here, there is nothing. So I will go to, do I have that stuff here? If I say nrp client Ubuntu. Okay, so you can see how to install NRP on this. NRP full form is Nagios Remote Plugin Extractor. Is used for executing the Nagios plugins on remote client system. Okay, so this is how it will work. So first what we need to do, apt get command I have, update command I have already run. Now I need to run this command to download the NRP plugin. Okay, so that is installed. Once it is installed, then you will find a configuration file, etc nagios nrp.configuration file. So let me go inside it. And down here, so this is the port which is to be opened, server port. And here you can see the server address. So I will uncomment it and I will give the address of my server. So this is my server. So I will copy it. Okay, so this is copied. Now let me save this. Okay, so I think these are the steps. We need to restart the service because we made the changes. Okay, so the service is restarted. Now I will go to my server machine or master machine. Here now I need to tell that there is a server and server IP address is this which I need to host. So for that, what we need to do, we need to go to there are a couple of ways. One way is that you can go to your localhost.cfg and you can add that entry here. Okay, means you can say here my new host name is this, belongs to this server. That is one way. But the other way is that what we can do, I will copy this part, define localhost and all this. So I will copy it and I will keep it into some notepad file. Okay. And here instead of host name, I will give localhost. I will give it as a slave host. Slave underscore nrp, I will say. And here we'll call it slave only. And here the alias name I will say it is slave nrp. Okay. And here the address of my client machine which is to be monitored, and that I can get it from here. This is the IP address. You can use private IP if you want. Okay, so this is the host I have defined. Now, so what I'm doing here, I'm defining the slave node entry into my localhost.cfg file. So either you can create, you can change the localhost.cfg file, or you can go and create a new file. So I will create a new file. Okay, so I will take this and I want to define some services as well. So for that, again, I will go here and I will define the service. So as an example, I want to define these two services. Okay, I will copy this and I will paste it here. So I will give the service name as ping and it is going to execute on the slave machine. Same way here, this is the root partition which will be running on the slave machine. Now I will save it. So I think all the brackets are closed. This is for this. This is for this. This one is for this. Okay. So I think we are okay. So we'll copy this and I will create a new file and I will call it vi slave host.cfg file. So I'm creating my custom configuration file and I will paste my contents here. Okay. So this is the one which I have copied. I have kept my slave IP address as well as alias name. And in the services, I have defined my service as ping service, which is doing the same job as we were doing in the local host, but here now it is pinging to my slave machine. Okay. Same way down in the root partition, I want to check the disk space for my slave machine. Let me save this. Okay. So if I run this machine, I will not see this, the new machine. The reason is that even though I have created this slave host.cfg file, but I did not configure it for the Nagios machine. So I will go to the Nagios configuration file and if I say vi nagios.cfg file. So here what I will do, I will add that file. Okay, we will slave host.cfg file. So what I will do, vi nagios.cfg and I will copy this line. What happened? It has copied. Okay, so I will call it slave host.cfg file and let me save it. So now I have saved it. Okay, so now because I made the changes on my host machine or Nagios file, then I need to restart the machine. So to restart it, I will say systemctl restart my service basically. Okay, so the service should be restarted now. Let me go back and refresh my page. So now if I say host, now you can see there is a new host is added, which is slave host, which I need to monitor. So if I click on this, so it will give the information. So far what it is saying, host status is up, status information, and the active command, and so on, right? Same way if I go to the services, so you can see there are two services which is configured. One is the ping service and other is the root service. So I think the interval to check the ping service is 5 minutes, I believe, which we have seen in the configuration file, template configure. So let's wait and see whether it is able to communicate with the slave machine or not. Let me refresh this page. Okay, so now you can see ping status is okay. So ping status is okay means it is able to communicate with the slave machine, and root partition, that service it is checking, right? Now let me do one thing. Let me stop my server. So if I go and say action, and I will say stop. Okay, so I think it will take that much time to run the ping command again. So when it will run again, so it will give the error. So here if you see for these services, here you can see one field which is say attempt. So it is attempting to run the command for that particular system, and 1/4 means in the first command it was when it was executing first time, so the command was successful. So here if you see this swap usage, this is critical because it tried 4 times and it is saying it is not able to uh, execute this command successfully. So it means that is why it is giving the critical. So let us rerun this. So the last try, last check if you see 1728. So next check is not yet started because and it was 1729 after 1 minute. So no, let us wait. So I'm just waiting when this particular time gets changed. So 3 minutes 45 seconds. Meanwhile, anyone has any question, any doubt? I need to check what is the time is set for this. And what is the time? The command is date time. Date 17:34. It is almost 6 minutes. Okay, yeah. So now you can see, now my ping command is saying critical because the ping, it is giving the timeout error. So if you see critical, plug in timeout. So this thing is basically monitoring it and checking this whether this particular server is accessible or not. We have done one mistake. We had given the public IP address into, instead of that we need to give the private IP address. So this is the private IP address. So if I go and give this private IP address to my slave host, so if I say slave host.cfg, so instead of this address, if I give this, because public IP address get changed. So if I say I don't think for that we need to restart because, and now it is in the stop state, and if I go to my host, it is saying it is down. Right, now let me start the server. So if I say action, state and start. Okay, so now it is up and running. And if I go to this machine and if I refresh this, okay, so because so far the last check which was happened 19 seconds ago, last check was 17:36. So if I say date command here, 37 is the current time. So again it will take some time. So 36, 38. So it will take some time to come up. And same way with the services. So this was tested at 34 and it was okay. So again, actually we need to wait accordingly and we need to see that these services are up or not. Okay, so let me see my host. Host is still not 1738. Okay, checked at that moment. So looks like the changes which we have done is not applied. Systemctl restart Nagios. And if I refresh this page and if I go to my hosts, in 38. So looks like I have not slave host.cfg. So probably we need to wait for some time again to verify that this machine is up or not. Oh, is there any other place we did the changes? No, only this one. So let's wait for that. So private IP should work, I believe, because these are the local under the same network. Okay, now you can see my slave is showing up because now the communication between slave and local host or my server is happening. So if I say go to host and services, and you can see the services like my ping service and root partition both are up and running. So this way my machines are monitored by using Nagios. Anyone has any question, any doubt? And that's it for Nagios. Okay, so if you don't have any question, probably we can wind up.
Please be kind enough to like it, and you can comment any of your doubts and queries. We will reply to them at the earliest. Want to study further? Subscribe to our paid membership to get a deep dive into each and every topic. Do look out for more videos in our playlist and subscribe to our DevOps School channel and hit the bell icon to learn more. Keep learning.